Hello everybody and welcome back to another Pokemon tier list presented by the Game House. I'm Rob. I'll be taking you through the tier list today, and because I enjoyed doing Gen 1's Mega Evolutions, the potential ones for Pokemon Legends ZA so much, I decided let's do Gen 2 in a row, a second one in a row. So I hope that you guys will enjoy this one as much as I have. This one will already not have my favorite Pokemon in it, just purely based on the fact that Ampharos already has a Mega Form. So, yeah, let me know in the comment section below which Pokemon you think are most likely to get a Mega Form. And let's not waste any more time. Let's hop into it here. We're going to start off, as we did last time, with our Garbodor tier list. So, Garbodor tier list pretty much contains just mostly the Pokemon that have forms already or recently were given them. There are a couple that I will go over and explain why. There's also Pokemon like Murkrow and Mischievous who already have like evolutions, right? Girafarig as well, Ursaring. So you have all these Pokemon that have, new evolutions, and it's really unlikely for us to see a Mega Evolution from a Pokemon that already has a new evolution. It's almost always that last evolution that's going to get something. There, like I said, are a few, though, that I want to go over really quickly. Specifically, Crobat, I think, just has no shot. I don't think they're going to give that much more love to the Zubat evolution already. Just giving it Crobat in general, I think, was very kind of them. The Dog Trio as well, obviously, just got new forms back in Scarlet and Violet, so very recently. And then we have Delibird as well, that was given the Iron Bundle form. So that's, obviously a new Pokemon that was given a new form very recently. But the big one is going to be Furret here. It just feels so incredibly unlikely that Furret's going to get anything, mostly just because it feels like they are keeping the first route, Varmin, Rat, whatever you want to try to call them, Pokemon, normal Pokemon, kind of as themselves. I know, obviously, that some of them have gotten, like the Zigzagoons got the Galarian forms, all that kind of stuff. I just don't think they're going to give them a new Mega Form. I just don't think that this Pokemon has any shot of getting a Mega Form. I could end up being wrong, but yeah, maybe it's technically an Arceus tier, which I guess I forgot on this one to put Arceus at S. I am using an image instead of the, a screenshot that I took. But I just think that there's just no shot for Furret in my mind, and the rest of these, they either have new evolutions or new forms very recently. And so because of that, they're going to be staying down there in the Garbodor tier list. But let's hop up here into the C tier list, which is probably, I believe it's close to being our smallest tier list, which is show you how I feel about the Arceus tier list for Gen 2 Pokemon of getting a Mega Form in Legends ZA. And we're going to start with Unknown. Look, Unknown was almost in the Garbodor tier list, but I didn't want to completely take it out. I could totally see them, well, I shouldn't say totally, because obviously it was almost not in it, but it would be not out of the realm of possibility for them to give it a Mega Form where it's an exclamation point or something like that. I don't think it'd be a very exciting one, but there's always a chance, and that's what this C tier list is that there's always a chance. Corsola as well, right? Yes, it did get Corsola, but that's a completely different thing, or it's supposed to be at least. And I just don't know if Corsola is completely out of the conversation. It feels like it could use a little bit more love, and there's a lot of options, I think, for a Mega Form of this Pokemon. I remember, being as a kid trying to catch one all the time, and I don't think it gets a ton of love necessarily. I think a Mega Form would help it. Smeargle as well. Look, it's such a unique Pokemon that I think they kind of want to keep it unique as it is, but there is absolutely a world, and I've seen all over the internet, different people making Mega Forms for Smeargle to allow it to become a little bit more viable on teams. But the reality is that I think its uniqueness is what makes it stand out on its own, and I don't think it needs a Mega Form. There are other Pokemon that do. And so because that's down here in C, Sunflora probably could have gone up if I'm being honest with you, but there's just something deep inside of me that feels like Sunflora has next to no chance, truthfully, to get anything else. It got a big, like a town essentially in Scarlet and Violet. I felt like that was a lot for it, but I just wasn't sure that it was going to have a shot to get a Mega Form, although I feel like it could also use a little bit of love. I could totally see them making it like a Fire Grass type Pokemon. That'd be really cool, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Ariados, again, kind of the same way with this one. I feel like they're just kind of going to, let this one go, but we did get Mega Beedrill, obviously, so there is a shot. We got Gigantamax, Butterfree as well. This is the next early game bug Pokemon in that regard, right? Scizor got one, which is the evolved form of Scyther. Scyther didn't get its own one, but then we got, its name, I can't remember, Cleaver, there we go. And then you can even see down here, Heracross got one, so it's really just Ariados that's kind of being left in the dust here, and I think it's going to continue to be. And then the last one's going to be Celebi, and the main reason why is I almost put this one up into where you'll end up seeing Lugia and Ho-Oh, but because Mew hasn't gotten a Mega Form and Mewtwo has, I'm wondering if they're keeping the mythical Pokemon off instead of the legendary Pokemon. I can't remember if Diancie is technically mythical or not, but it just feels like Celebi, unfortunately, is going to be forgotten about, going to get kind of pushed to the side. It would be nice for it to get a Mega Form, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Now we're up to the B tier list, though, and we're going to start off here at the bottom. I think Kingdra. I think that whole line actually could really use a lot of love. You've got another Seahorse type Pokemon, and I believe it's Dragalge. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce its name, but it's there in the later generations, and Kingdra specifically was such a nice addition, but they didn't do too much other than kind of raised its stats, and it's still not necessarily a great Pokemon in terms of statistically, and I really do believe that this line deserves a little bit more love and could get a little bit more love with a Mega Form. Is it obviously ranked very highly? Kind of. It's in the B tier list. These are not necessarily ranked in order of how likely they are to make it in, by the way. These are kind of just placed, randomly within this realm because it's just, they're just in the B tier. Not high B tier, not low tier, just in the B tier. The only one that was really supposed to be like that was Unknown. And that's why I left it down there at the bottom of the C tier. But it would be great to see this Pokemon get Dragon Water. It wouldn't necessarily make it much different than other Dragon and Water Pokemon, but getting a Mega Form of it would, I think, help this line quite a bit. Hitmontop, I'm going to give it the same reason why I gave Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee the same B tier list, if I remember correctly, is because if they're going to give one of them a Mega Form, they're going to have to give all three, and I just don't think that they're going to do that. So unfortunately, Hitmontop gets to stay here in B, but it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. Octillery as well was an interesting one where this felt like it was really close to going into the A tier list, but there just was something that's holding it back, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because it and Remoraid are based on guns, so maybe the only way that, or weapons I should say more specifically, which Pokemon doesn't like guns, as we've seen time and time again, and so it feels like maybe this one's just gonna kind of get left behind in terms of getting a new form. I could see maybe that happening, but getting a Mega Evolution just doesn't seem likely. Granbull actually was really close to getting into A as well, but the big thing that kept it out was just because we haven't really seen another Pokemon in that same sort of realm get one either, right? We haven't seen that kind of normal early game Pokemon. I know it turned into a fairy type obviously later. It really should have probably gone down into C tier list, but I think B makes sense because of the fact that it is fairy type now, and with us heading back to Kalos, I think fairy types are going to get a really nice spotlight, and Granbull could be a Pokemon that could get a Mega Form. Mantine is a Pokemon that desperately needs some help. It's got decent typing, obviously not a big deal there, and it's okay statistically, but it is, again, a Pokemon that's often kind of forgotten about, and they seem to like to mix in, Pokemon that could use some more love along with, popular Pokemon, and this one would probably fall into the needs a little bit of love category, as it's often forgotten about, and it wouldn't surprise me to totally see it in Pokemon Legends ZA just in general. I'm going to talk about Shuckle and Fortress kind of in the same vein, mostly because they are so strong defensively, and that's honestly what's keeping them from being in at least almost really an S tier. They're already so beefy. They don't need more stats, and a good bit of the time, right, a Mega Form is given to certain Pokemon to give them increased stats and allow them to be a little bit more viable for people's teams. Both of them are already just so viable as walls when you're playing the game in general, that it doesn't feel likely that they're going to give them more love, but they could. Honestly, they very much could, and I can't even imagine a world where Fortress gets even stronger, probably defensively. That would be pretty wild. It's already a very strong Pokemon, and again, so is Shuckle. Jumpluff as well was one that almost went into the A tier, but it's fallen short. Hoppip is just used so often in Pokemon games lately that I think this one's going to be left out. I don't know for sure if they're going to go with the Dex from Kalos or not, but Jumpluff feels like it's just going to be left out of the game, and that's the reason why it's going to be here in the B tier list. Otherwise, it might be an A. I could totally see them, making the decision to give Jumpluff another, little ball to help it fly, I guess, or, something in that vein. It's a cool Pokemon. It's, I think, a very underrated Pokemon, but it is one that I think has been consistently put in games and not given a new form, so I'd be surprised to see it get one now. Xatu is also a very intriguing option here for them. The Totem Pole, Pokemon is one that I think is seen in a weird way. It doesn't feel like it's ever really spotlighted, given its time to shine, really. And it feels like it could definitely get some sort of mega evolution, without a doubt, just to give it even better stats. It's a solid flying and psychic Pokemon, but it's just not enough. And it would be interesting to see them give it a little bit more, but it's staying down here because it is often forgotten about, and one that I just don't know if I could see them giving any more love. It kind of falls into that Mantine, Granbull, Octillery sort of category, and that's why it's here in the B tier list. Wobbuffet is an interesting one. Wobbuffet to me was either gonna be S tier or gonna be B tier. It was never gonna be A tier to where it's like just gonna miss out. Like it sounds really dumb because it's just, I don't know. B felt like the best spot because I couldn't see them 100% giving it a mega, especially with the other options that are available. And you got to think about how many more mega Pokemon are going to come from Gen 2. I don't think that it's very likely that Gen 2 is going to get a lot of love. It may not get a single new mega form, to be honest with you. And I just couldn't rank Wobbuffet above some of these other Pokemon, including the two legendaries that are next to it. So really, that's what it came down to is, was I going to put it over the ones in A tier? Probably not. And was it going to be like a for sure thing? No. So it ended up down here in the B tier list. Then we got Lugia and Ho-Oh. These two could really use some love, to be honest with you. We've seen Mewtwo get love. We have seen, the legendary dog trio get into the latest games. It's time for Lugia. It's time for Ho-Oh to get something. And the only reason they're down here in the B tier list is, again, because of the legendaries. And I went back and looked. And the only legendaries that got, some sort of mega form was, we got Mewtwo, got two forms. That's not a surprise because Kalos obviously tried to bring back up the nostalgia of Gen 1, which it did successfully for me. And then we saw Diancie get one as well. And that was because they were really trying to give something at least for, Colossean Pokemon, as weirdly enough, Kalos didn't get like any mega Pokemon except for that one. And then we have the Latios, and Mega Rayquaza. And that's because they went back and redid the story and everything for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So those games got that love. I don't think we are going to get another remake of Gold and Silver right now. I would personally love it. Heart Gold and Soul Silver are still by far and away the best games of the mainline Pokemon games that have ever come out, at least in my opinion. And it would be great to see these two, get a Mega Form. I think it'd be really fun for them. But I think it's more likely that we're going to see Gen 5 with the rumors of Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2 getting redone. I think it's more likely that we will see the legendaries from those games get some Mega Evolutions. But if they decide that they're going to kind of keep doing these, Mega Evolutions again because people really like them, it would totally be out of the realm of possibility for Lugia and for Ho-Oh. All right, we're doing well here. We are up into the A tier list now, and we've got a lot of interesting choices. I'm going to start with the Evolutions. Look, I don't think that the Evolutions are that likely to get it, but because this is the year of Evolutions, again, what Pokemon has literally came out and stated, you have to at least put them here in my mind. If we get past Legends ZA and we're discussing, hey, who could get a Mega Form the next time they do it? Because they'll probably do it again at some point. We don't know when. It's been, over 10 years at this point since we got our last Mega Evolutions. I could see the Evolutions probably falling down that tier list. They already get so much fandom, so much love. I don't think they necessarily need extra forms. In that regard, I think more Evolutions should happen, but I don't know that giving them Mega Forms is the best idea, but Pokemon loves to, put all the Evolutions out there. They love to promote Eevee. I think Eevee has to be the most promoted Pokemon besides Pikachu. And if it's not, it's very close with Charizard. So, there's just no way to leave them off this list down in Garbodor or even in C tier list. I'm not going to say for sure that they're going to get it because giving a Mega Evolution to 8 Pokemon from one, evolutionary chain would be really crazy for them to do. But hey, Pokemon's done crazy things, so why not? The next one on this list is Lantern, and Lantern is a freaking cool Pokemon that could use some extra stats and maybe some better moves too. I think a Mega Form for this Pokemon would make a ton of sense. This one is partially gut, if I'm being honest with you. There's just a gut feeling that of all of these other Pokemon, maybe ones that are slightly forgotten about, Lantern would be the one that would fit into that category the most, or the best. I was gonna say the most perfectly, but the best. Gets my point across in the same way. But with that, yeah, Lantern is a great Pokemon. It's a really cool design already by itself, and it would be really interesting to see it get kind of that next, evolution, that next form. And there's just a lot that they could do with a water and electric Pokemon like this. And it's kind of, I don't know. Again, this one might just be a pocket pick on my point, but I'm glad that I put it here in the A tier list. Next one's going to be Noctowl. We saw Pidgeot get a Mega Evolution. If they're going to be giving some more to Gen 2, like more than just 2 or 3 maybe, Noctowl should be in consideration without a doubt. It's a great Pokemon. It's got great moves. We did the flying type tier list, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and Hoot Hoot did pretty well on it. No surprises there. It is a popular Pokemon. It was Ash's first shiny Pokemon as well. I, for a long time as a child, thought that was the color that Noctowl was supposed to be. So I always wondered why mine wasn't the right color when I was growing up, and I didn't really know what shiny Pokemon were for most of my life playing Pokemon up until a little over a decade ago. So Noctowl's really cool. It would be a great Pokemon to get a new form as well, and it just feels like it could definitely happen. There's precedent set for it thanks to Pidgeot. Next is going to be Ledian. Yeah, Ledian. Almost said Ladybug. That's the original evolution. Ledian is a Pokemon that looks awesome. It feels like it should be really good, but its moves are bad, its stats are terrible, and if there's a Pokemon that needs anything, literally anything that the Pokemon Company can give it on this list, this has to be near the top of that list. There's just so much potential with this Pokemon, with its different arms, with its, even its hands. Like, It looks kind of like a superhero almost, but not, right? So there needs to be something more. There's a lot of room left for design, and it feels like a Pokemon that could really and truly get a Mega form. It just wasn't enough to make it up into S tier. It was very, very close, but it's mostly just because it feels like they're almost intentionally forgetting about it. People I've seen all over Reddit, again, all over online, and even in my conversations with people, they agree that this Pokemon needs more. I just don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately, and it's a big bummer, to say the least. But next we have Quagsire, which is, yes, it did just get Cloudsire. It got the new form, if you want to call it that, even though it's technically not, a Quagsire. This Pokemon is so derpy. It's a great Pokemon. Water Ground is an awesome typing, but its stats don't allow you to necessarily pick it over other Pokemon with similar typings. And so getting a Mega Form for a Pokemon that is already so well liked, and a Pokemon that I think Cloudsire did really well amongst a lot of the fans. It wouldn't be surprising to see them kind of continue that with maybe, making this a little bit more of a popular Pokemon for Gen 2 fans, and just fans of Pokemon in general, and giving it a Mega Form. Last three here, I think, are the very, very most likely to be in the Arceus tier, even though they are not there right now. And I did leave these ones similar to Unknown near the top because I feel like they deserve their own sort of explanation for why they didn't miss it into Arceus, as I know I'm doing with all these, but still, just a little bit more time on these. And Skarmory, we'll start off with, it's so good. It's a great Pokemon. It's a really cool Pokemon. It was a great addition. Flying Steel type is absolutely fantastic. The Pokemon has great moves, and it's just a great wall as well. The problem is that once you got Corviknight, right, it kind of took away the things that are great about this Pokemon, just in the sense that it's pretty similar in stats, and it means Skarmory doesn't get to stand out as much anymore, and that's a shame, to say the least, because this was such a revolutionary, very cool Pokemon. Everybody's always wanted a baby form for it, or even a new just evolution in general. Getting a Mega Evolution, I think, would satiate fans quite a bit with this Pokemon. They wouldn't necessarily need to change much. Just give it a better design, update its moves, and give it a little bit better stats, maybe offensively even, which could make this thing very, very scary because it's already so good defensively. But this is just a Pokemon that needs more, just because it's already great, and it deserves a little bit more. Now, for Alligator and Meganium, look, we saw Typhlosion already get its love. These two could potentially even individually get them, and the only reason I'm saying that is because I think they may end up being one of the starters in Pokemon Legends ZA. They will not get it as a group. It would be shocking for them to decide, well, not completely shocking, but it would be surprising for them to decide to give Megaforms to all three of them by making them the Pokemon that you get, because in Pokemon X and Y, we were given the original starters because they had new Megaforms. So it made sense that you would get these starters, along with the starters that you would normally get in Gen 6 as well. There's a world where they could end up doing the same thing for Gen 2, but that feels unlikely. At this point, it just seems like they may end up giving one of these Gen 2 representatives a new form purely based on the fact that they would be in Pokemon Legends ZA as one of the starters. And because Pokemon Legends ZA doesn't do a whole group of starters at the same time, right? They pick and choose from different generations. It just makes sense for them to pick one of these two, and because of that, they're going to be sitting up here at the very top of the A tier list. If I had to guess, I think Feraligatr has the best chance of getting a Mega Form out of the two of them, but we'll have to see. I just didn't want to lump it up there at the top, just purely based on the fact that I honestly do like it a little bit more than Meganium. Now we're going to go finally up into the Arceus tier. And Arceus tier has some, I think, 4 really solid possibilities. These ones are not ranked in order of how likely they are. I actually think that Magcargo has the best chance, and I'll explain that why at the very end here. But we'll start with Miltank. Miltank is a great Pokemon that could use some more stats, and it's already loved. It's already one of the hardest Pokemon battles that I think most kids can remember. When you're facing off against Whitney, you're just like, I might just die here. Like, if you're doing a Nuzlocke, Miltank is a Nuzlocke killer. We got the Moo Moo Milk for this Pokemon. It's already very popular, and giving it a Mega Form, I think, would be honestly very beneficial for this Pokemon, and it's more of a surprise that they haven't done more with Miltank. And if there are Pokemon in Gen 2 that are going to get Mega Forms, this one has to be very much near the top. Along with that one is Sudowoodo. I know that we have Bonsly as a baby Pokemon, which was great for this, Pokemon, because it's already a really solid one. But wouldn't it be fun to see it get grass and rock typing actually and make it a Mega Form? It just seems to make a ton of sense. I even recently, and maybe that's what influenced part of this list, but I had seen somebody make a Mega Evolution fan art for this Pokemon, and Sudowoodo looked awesome. Mega Sudowoodo looked really, really cool. It would not be a surprise whatsoever to see it get a Mega Form. Again, it's one of those like pretty popular Pokemon because almost everybody caught it because it was so strong. Like, I remember Low Kick just wrecking my team with this Pokemon and all the other. I think it had Flail and a few other moves. So it's a very solid Pokemon. Pretty much everybody catches it if you play either of the Silver and Gold games. And it wouldn't be a surprise at all to see this Pokemon get a Mega Form. The last one before we go to Magcargo is going to be Azurill. And look, Marill is super popular. I know we've got a baby form for it, but our Azumarill. Sorry, I said it incorrectly. But either way, it is a really good Pokemon that could use a little bit more statistically. It would be really fun. They got the new water fairy typing. It would be really fun to see this Pokemon get even more love. The fairy typing, as I had said with Granbull, I think is going to play a role in this one, maybe getting a Mega Evolution. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever, just because it is such a beloved Pokemon already. And giving it a Mega Form would only make it more viable. It would only make it more interesting, and people would probably really want to run with it. I can tell you, when I do my Nuzlocks, if I can get an Azumarill, I am pumped. It's a great Pokemon. It's super strong. It's already very bulky on its own, and giving it just that extra boost, along with it already being fairy type, I think would be huge. Now, the last one is going to be Magcargo, and if they're going to give one Pokemon, I'm telling you, one Pokemon on this entire list to get a Mega Form, I think this is the most likely. And it's purely based on the fact that we are heading back to France and you got Escargot, right? I know that may sound stupid, but it's partially named that, right? And it's a very popular dish in France. Obviously, it's a very well-known dish from that area. I've never had it myself, but it feels like there's a lot that they could do with this Pokemon. And to give it that extra oomph like they did with Camerupt would not be surprising at all. Like, not even in the slightest. So this has to be near the top of the list. In my personal opinion, it is at the top of the list. It just makes too much sense. Giving it more stats would be absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised if it would make it a very popular Pokemon to use in the competitive scene. And it would be one that I think would be a lot of fun. So that's going to wrap it up for us, though, on this tier list. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think. How did I do? Are there Pokemon that I missed in terms of where they are ranked? Are there Pokemon that you rank higher, lower, all that stuff? Do you think that even some of the Pokemon in the Garbodor tier list could, get one? Are there any of the already have Mega Evolution forms or Pokemon that could get a new Mega Evolution? I wouldn't be upset if they ended up splitting Ampharos into Mega Ampharos X and Y. Maybe they give it Mega Ampharos Z. Wouldn't hate that whatsoever, obviously, as an Ampharos fan myself, but I highly doubt that'll ever happen. So, let me know, like I said, in the comment section below, but that'll do it for us. So, with that, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.